Hello everybody. Welcome to hashtag Higher Ed, hashtag Change Higher Ed. I'm very excited to be with you today for a lot of reasons, honestly. Um, I think I don't know. I think there's been a lot of really cool, fun things that have happened as 2020 is kind of wrapping up. At least for higher ed on this in this moment right now. Today is our last episode that we're doing before the new year. I'm excited to have Natalia on our show today. She's gonna be talking like we kind of like hit I think LinkedIn around the same time and have had like some very similar experiences, but are very different. And we'll get into those and kind of talk about those and have some fun. And we have some free books to give away as well. The only real announcement that I have is that for the month of December, I'm going to be kind of taking off a little bit, hopefully getting out of this situation and moving next week finally, and having your own space and getting everything set up. And so I'll go into that, or I'll probably write about it throughout the month or whatever on LinkedIn. But in the meantime, let me please welcome our guest, Natalia. She's going to introduce herself, and I'm really excited to have her on because I was on her podcast not too long ago, or her webinar, and so now we're kind of switching it up, and I'm excited for this. So here we go. Here is Natalia. Hello, Natalia. How are you doing this evening?
Hello. Hey, Eric. Thank you so much for the introduction and for your invitation. So I feel honored to be here. I was looking forward to this meeting, and indeed, Eric gave a great webinar for the Welcome Solutions channel. So yeah, you might be willing to also check it out. Great stuff, especially if you want to learn about the origins of Eric's tattoos. Then that's, I think, a good way. And thank you so much again for invitation. And to briefly introduce myself, I'm Polish originally, and in 2011 I came to the Netherlands for my PhD in Computational Neuroscience. And I chose this place mostly because the Netherlands is one of the hubs in this research area in Europe. And that was my first serious encounter with science, and I had my learning curve. In the end, I actually had to restart my PhD. So I started in 2011, and for a lot of reasons, I had to do it again in 2013. And the second time wasn't any easier than the first time. And it was actually, it's quite a long story, but to put the story short, I had very complex, difficult projects, and very individual, like I felt quite isolated because it was quite an individual project. And then, well, after this whole contract ended in 2017, in the end of 2017, I felt that I need a little break, that I feel emotionally and physically tired. And I didn't really think about leaving academia at that point. It was more that I felt I needed to take a gap year just for myself to finish some research projects, but also check, test myself in other situations, because I also had hobbies and things that I never could really spend enough time on during my PhD. For instance, I was interested in investments, stock exchange. I got interested in blockchains. I knew that I like writing, so I was testing also whether or not I could be a business developer and write business plans for startups. So I was actually doing a lot of different things. And in the end of 2018, so after more or less a year, I started the foundation here in Nijmegen in the Netherlands. It's called the Stichting Solaris. And the purpose was to improve on the mentoring practices in academia. So I felt this was one of the things I had to struggle with during my PhD. So I wanted to give back to the community and work on this topic. But I also realized at some point that, first of all, people who come to me usually ask me about the jobs, not necessarily about mentors. So I soon learned that there is one problem that is even bigger of a problem than lack of mentoring practices or mentors. And this is actually lack of guidance in terms of post-PhD careers. And in the end, I decided to make this my career path. And in the summer of 2019, I set a company, Welcome Solutions, with the purpose to investigate the subject and tackle this problem, because I felt indeed there is not enough information, and we are still far away from providing a good start into adult life for PhDs. At least here in the Netherlands, I felt that there is a lot of confusion, and PhDs often have very difficult times when it comes to finding first jobs in industry. So that's how it all started. And I could talk for hours, because it was a long process, and I'm not one of these people who just took a sudden decision, fell in love with something new all of a sudden, and made that transition. It was really a long process in my case, and there was no particular moment when it came to my mind, okay, this is it. Now I know that I will never have an academic position again, pretty much because I will never have a boss again. That's my resolution. But it's only now, after like 3 years since my contract expired, so it was a long time.
Okay, yeah, and this is why I'm excited to have you on, because like I think for two reasons that make our experiences very similar, to be honest, but like that difference is just the difference in culture, and where you are now, like being in the educational system in Europe, and then and also, just by the way, like thank you. It's like almost midnight where you are, like 11 o'clock where you are. Like thank you for doing that and accommodating. But also your background is very heavily in the sciences, and me coming from the humanities is just, I feel like they're two completely different worlds. But it's been so interesting to me as I've been going and talking with folk about just how similar things are, just kind of across the board. Like it doesn't matter like where you're from or what you're studying. There's this chasm that's kind of been growing in higher education. So yeah, again, like I thank you for being here, and I'm excited to have you here. So tell me a little bit more about the organization that you started that we were talking about earlier with the Welcome Solutions, and kind of like what you're trying to do with it. And also just, I'm really interested, and I don't think we talked about this beforehand, just kind of a question I had as we were talking, about how you've been able to build your community. Because I've seen some really cool posts that you have on social media where like where you're having like gatherings for people and things like that, and being able to sit down and actually have discussions with people in a face-to-face manner. So how has that been going, and like what has been your motivation behind all of that, and trying to connect people together?
Great that you're asking, because company, once you set a company, it becomes your baby, so it becomes automatically your favorite subject. I have to say that you can see this perception changing over time. Then you're becoming more and more company centric. So at this stage, I think I'm 100% company centric. So I'm very happy to talk about it. So actually, this is one of the projects that is more of a lean project, and I started with that thought that I have to somehow approach this subject, and I started with putting together all the information I already gained during my 2-year odyssey through the job market, because I had a lot of contact with a lot of different working environments within that period. So I was working a lot with startups, but I was also still finishing my research projects, and I was also applying for jobs in corporations and all kinds of companies, and I had a lot of job interviews, and I could see, and in general, I come from the family that is very diverse in terms of professions. Like there is no just one type of profession in the family. My father is a chess player by profession. My mother is a corporate manager, so they are very different, and all my relatives, they have very diverse professions. So I think at some point I realized that I can contribute something here by analyzing these similarities and differences between these different working environments. And I can see also that to be happy in the job market, it's not only that you have to find your strengths and personal strengths and core competencies and just go for it, but you also have to find a group of people who think like you and who understand you, because we are born with certain type of orientation towards jobs that we cannot really change. Like, for instance, for me, I don't think I could ever have like 9 to 5 type of job, just because my mind doesn't switch off after 5 and doesn't
Mm-hmm.
switch off on the weekends. And sometimes people, like, I have misunderstandings with people because they think that it's my decision, but it's not. So the way you think, the way your mind operates, the way you also approach your work is something that you can only partially change. So it's really important that you first of all learn about yourself and then find this tribe where you fit best and people who are like you. And that's also type of content that I've built my book and my course around. So I started the company from actually creating this content. And in the end of 2019, I wrote the book. I completed the book and I put it out on Amazon, and I also completed the course. And from January 2020, we started doing this course every month. First in Amsterdam, but then since the Corona broke in, then I moved online, and currently it's done online. And probably in the near future there will also be a pay-per-click version, because I can see that the price of like one-on-one consultancy and these courses with the tutor is quite a barrier to a lot of people who need it. So to put this price down, I have to pre-record the course so that this price is really reasonable then for most PhDs. So I'm working on that. Yeah.
Let me ask. So before coronavirus hit, you're very active in getting together and meeting those people together. How have you been able to continue to do that after everything that's been going on?
Well, that's a very good question, and I think the answer is first of all self-discipline, and first of all I have some experience with working from home, and so for me this transition was not very difficult, because after my contract expired I used to mostly work from home, so I already had that experience for 2 years. So I know myself, I know my body, I know my schedule, and I know how to play around the working schedule so that I can do my best and also interact with people regardless of the situation. And so today, of course, you mostly meet people online, and for me that's nothing new. Of course, before I was also attending meetups, but now I make active effort. I think it's really important to make active effort, and it's usually me who is calling friends and who is calling my contacts and proposing meetings. I don't wait for them to act, because I know how most people who are not used to the situation, they get a little bit passive sometimes, and they just wait to be called, or they just they just no longer their social contacts kind of suffer from it.
Yeah,
But
I think that's really valuable, that just showing people, just like in this one, like just the importance of taking initiative, like saying like, you know what, like I'm gonna do it. I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna pick up the phone, or I'm gonna send the email, and just really, I think it's empowering to hear others kind of have that same experience of like kind of being reserved and not really knowing how to manage it, but then knowing that there are other people that have been doing it for a minute, like yourself. It's like, okay, like this is possible. Like I'm still trying to figure out how I can get into a routine and get to know that. Like it's frustrating, right? No, so
Actually,
I appreciate that.
I think you are the authority here, because you build a great community and it's very active. I can see, and you are casting these panels. At this little YouTube channel that I've created, I talk to one person per week, and you have so many guests and so many different panels. This is very impressive what you do, especially given that you are also a head of the family and you are in transition from one job to another. This is you're very active. You should give a workshop in that.
Well, how to be manic, like how to have a manic personality. That would be That would be interesting. No, thank you. That's very kind of you. Thank you. So tell me more about the book project that you have, and because I mean this is something that for all of our viewers, if you ask a question for our Q&A session, then you can win a copy of Natalia's book. And so kind of tell us a little bit about that book and the project itself, like just kind of like how did it come to be and how is it going now?
Actually, so first of all, thank you for this question. So as I mentioned before, I built this book around this concept of these tribes in the working on the job market and these working environments that you might be willing to look for. And I also one problem that I discovered that I kind of noticed is that after your academic career comes to the end, you have to choose which side of the job market you're going towards. So are you searching for safety or are you searching for freedom? Because depending on that, you have two completely different directions. And some PhD graduates feel that they are oppressed, that they don't want someone else to have influence on their projects and be dependent on other people. And I was one of those. That's why I ended up with a company probably. But there are also plenty of PhDs who have this opposite feeling, that they felt it was a chaotic environment. They were very uncertain about the future and they want more security and more order. So depending on that, how you feel regarding this particular problem, you have to make your choices, and there are just different career tracks you should choose depending on how you feel about it. And one thing I have to say is that in academia we are being taught that life is a grind, that it's supposed to be hard, that PhD is supposed to be a challenge, that it's fine that you're depressed because everyone else is, and it's just life is supposed to be hard. But I have to say, after these 3 years, no, it's not like that. Life is not supposed to be hard. If you feel like you're pushing forward and doing your best and you're never really good enough, and you feel like you're never really satisfied because once one project is published, you already think about 3 other projects and you never have that sense of satisfaction, that probably means you're in the wrong place and you should look for something else. And I can tell now I'm definitely in the right place. I feel great. I just the crisis hampers companies, of course, and I probably am not as far as I would be without the crisis, but still, on my mind, I feel very satisfied doing what I'm doing, and I no longer have that everyday frustration that I had a few years ago. And now when I think about me listening to all these people who were telling me that it's supposed to be frustrating and life is supposed to be frustrating, I'm like, no, just don't listen to these people. There are so many better ways of living, and just don't listen.
No, I really appreciate that, just because there are a lot of people, and I think that there are several in academia themselves where that's true, and just trying to find the community, like a community that you've built and that we're I think together trying to build on LinkedIn as well, is just like knowing that there are people who are there that will support you in the right way, just like to empower you to do those things and to kind of take that initiative and kind of that ownership, honestly, of your life. It's hard to do, but it's exciting to do.
Yeah, and one thing I can add to this is that you and your job are like two pieces of a puzzle. It's not that there is no such thing as the best job or a perfect job. Not everyone wants to be another Jennifer Lopez, or that there is not one job that everyone would like to have. It's also that there is no such thing as a perfect employee, because a person who, one person might be very motivated by managing people, the other person might be stressed and doesn't want that responsibility. One person is good with deadlines and likes deadlines, because they are motivating. Another person hates deadlines. So it's really there is no such thing as the best employee, and there is no such thing as the best job. It's really like finding this perfect puzzle to fit with. And to do that, you have to do you have to know two parts of the equation. You have to know a lot about yourself and your strengths and weaknesses and limitations, and you have to know a lot about your options and what these different options entail to be able to compare and just find this best match. So that's
So
also what I'm focusing on. Yeah.
okay, and so how do you feel that the work that you've created and the work that you have put out, how do you feel that it helps people to be able to do that?
Yeah, actually, courses that we do, that's exactly the focus of the course. So it's 50% of the time. These are lectures and exercises related to the general knowledge about the job market. Everything from like this review of the potential professions and working environments that you can choose from, but also strategies to get jobs and everything that you need to know to have a good start in the job market. But the second 50% is self-discovery exercise. So it's actually a lot of work, and people always complain. They complain about two things. One thing is too much work. Second thing is too much Tiesto music, because I sometimes put it on in the breaks. They hate it, but yeah, this is a lot of work, because I can also tell that a lot of people at this age, around 30 or more, sometimes, they still have very little knowledge about themselves and about their working style and their preferences towards jobs. So then there is a lot of self-observation exercise and a lot of questions to answer and aptitude tests, etc. So yeah, so it takes a lot of time, but there are good results. So I can tell, yeah, participants are very satisfied, and many of them found jobs literally like a week or two after the course. So it's really, yeah, it works as expected. So I'm happy to see that.
Okay, excellent. And so how about this? Kind of as we're wrapping up the conversation, like what would be the one or two tips that you would want to share with anybody who's a job seeker out there? Like what have you noticed in the trends that you've seen, and how would you encourage them to continue to act?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually, I was thinking how to prepare for this question, and I think because it's a question that is always asked in this context, and I think I would like to tell you something that is a bit less obvious, because the first thing that comes to mind is usually, well, network, of course, like networking, etc. But I think here I would like to say, I would like to make some comment about this purpose thing, because a lot of PhDs, they have a strong urge to find purpose after they so basically, once you're in academia, you have very well-defined purpose to investigate certain topic and contribute. But then once you change your plans, then many people feel a strong urge to find the next purpose, day one. And I would like to say that this is not the best approach in my mind. I mean, there are exceptions, but the point is, if you choose a new purpose straight away, then you cannot be sure how feasible it is. And I had that problem too. That at some point I came up with a great idea of building a recruitment platform, and it was like looked very shiny, but I didn't really. I was too green to really build this project in a feasible way, and I didn't know how risky it was. And then after I started learning about the subject more and about the whole market, I got a feeling that it's actually really high risk and high reward type of project, and very low chance that it will actually work for a lot of independent reasons. So, and in the end, I learned more and more about the whole field and subject, and now I can come up with purposes that are actually possible to achieve. And the point is, once you get indulged in certain topic and in certain field, once you join a new field and you learn about it, then in the process of learning, you'll notice what type of problems these people have and what type of problems are the unsolved problems in this field. And then these purposes will just come up, and there will be many. Ever since I started the company, so first I started the company because I noticed a new purpose, right? So first I was oriented at mentoring, then I noticed that there is another problem to solve. And ever since I started that company, I already have like 5 or 7 other problems on my mind. For instance, the fact that hardworking people are discriminated by the rest of society in many ways, but that's a long topic. Or the fact that people without PhD have exactly the same problems, feel the same lost on the job market than people with PhDs. There are many, many things, and there will be purposes. At some point, once you indulge into a certain topic, you will suffer from too many purposes. So it shouldn't be. Don't be afraid that you will lose your purpose, because once you start something new and you like it, and you like your new environment, the purposes will come one after another in large amounts. So don't worry about it.
I think that that's very encouraging for people, because I feel like that a lot of the reasons that people are attracted to higher education is because they have that purpose, that they have something that they know is it's meaningful work. Like there's a project that I'm working on, like trying to understand about like how do we encourage people to feel like they're doing meaningful work. And this conversation just kind of triggered that for me, that those who go into higher education and academia feel that calling and that vocation, which isn't really how you talk about work in industry. And that's just kind of it's a different concept, especially when when you go through college and people are telling you to find your purpose. But the reason that they're telling you that is because they are in higher education, and that their higher education is a very purpose-driven field, and it's not really practical. It's goes to show, like, just get advice from people who are not in academia. Like if you're trying to leave academia, or if you're in the position where you need to leave, or you're compelled to leave, and you're looking for advice, try to talk to people who aren't in that sphere, and talk to them about the purposes that they have. Because I think you're right. Like I don't think you're going to find something that's going to match the same type of purpose-driven feel that a lot of academics feel. And so kind of reframing things to really discover more about you and who you are. Like you said, 50% of that process is self-discovery. And I think that there's a lot of folk who need that, because they've been told what their values are for so long in higher education, or at least from a certain framework, not realizing that there's a completely different way to go about and thinking about it. Like, I think that's a really cool concept right there.
Yeah, I totally agree with you that there are different ways of looking at purposes also, and the ways it's being so in industry, when you start working as an employee for a company, it's often the case that, especially if a manager is a good manager, that your purposes become more like internal. So you want to because what we have in academia, we have this external purpose. We want to always advance the humanity, like in a broad sense, in some way. But in companies, you can get motivated to improve the functioning of the company itself. So if your team is functional and if your manager is doing a good job, then they actually at some point, so your motivation becomes some combination usually between this external and internal motivation. So it's just different type of purpose often. Although in many industry jobs, you can also have these big external purposes, especially if you create new products that solve new problems. That's also possible. But indeed, the types of purposes often differ. Yeah.
Okay, no, this has been a really fun, invigorating conversation. It kind of took a different direction than we had talked about starting out. And so oh, we have a question right here. That this one is from Sammy Waka Herrera. How can university career centers support graduate students more? So let's close that out with that being our question that's closing us out. So what do you think that universities and career centers at universities themselves should be doing given the context of our situation and our conversation?
Actually, first of all, thank you for the question. I think first of all, I would like to say that I like to see that universities are now more interested in PhD careers than it used to be. I think there is a growing interest, and at least here in the Netherlands, I think there was a big change in that field in the last 2-3 years. So I really like to see this. Well, one thing I think would be worth to see would be more dialogue with industry, I think, because in many cases these courses are still organized by researchers. So these career centers basically employ people to prepare and organize a course and give this content. And sometimes I think it's good if there is a lot of input from the outside. So once you want to learn about industry, then of course, like, it's always good to bring people from industry, people who already work there, or people like us who are very active in this space and try to learn as much as possible. So I think that's one thing, but it also, I can see that happening to some extent already as well. So that's a good thing. Yeah, I would say. Well, I'm not at the university anymore, so I can only talk about it from perspective of a person that hears about those courses, because I don't take them anymore. But I think, yeah, it's a difficult topic. I think, once you're at the university, you don't have that outside perspective. So in general, it's a really difficult subject to teach then.
Yeah, and I think that, like, in regards to the question as well, just bringing in people who are outside of the university and just exposing students to people who are in those fields. And I think that there's this expectation that students know what they're going to do. And I think that university coursework really helps them build a foundational knowledge for those things in a lot of ways. But I think that there's often this disconnect between what did I learn in the classroom and then how does this apply? And so maybe even not at the career center level, but at the coursework level, and partnering with university or with institutions about, like, what is the importance of this accounting class, like from someone who is doing that work, or what is the life of a scientist. I don't know very much about science, but what is that life like? And just bringing in those people about how are you using this thing in this class? How does it apply? And if that course doesn't really do that very well, maybe don't take that course. I don't know. Okay, no, this has been fantastic, Natalia. I really appreciate you coming on and having a wonderful conversation with us, especially since it's getting so late for you there and over in Europe. Thank you so much for being here, Natalia. Is there anything you'd like to, last comments you'd like to say, like where can people find you, that kind of thing?
Yeah, of course. Thank you guys so much for being here and for watching us and for staying till the end. If you are interested in what I'm doing, then I think one good suggestion might be to visit website of my company, welcome-solutions, welcome-solutions.com, and checking out my book as well. Maybe you'll be lucky to win it, actually, but in any case, you're welcome to take a look on Amazon. And of course, if you have any comments or questions, you can drop me an email. You can find an email on the company website, and I'm very open to discussion always.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Natalia. I'll let you go, and I'll just say thank you again one more time. I really love your presence that you have on LinkedIn and the community that you're helping to build. So thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, everybody, for watching, and those who are going to be watching later. I appreciate that as well. Natalia, we had one winner for the book because we had one question. So Sammy, congratulations. You won a copy of Natalia's book. You can reach out to her on LinkedIn to get that copy. And then also for those, like, we're going to be posting this probably afterwards as well. And so for a chance to win, we can figure something else out, because I know that Natalia is really eager to share the knowledge that she has. I really appreciate this moment. I really appreciate, I guess, tomorrow's Thanksgiving in the United States, right? We have lots to be thankful for, or trying to say that we're thankful for. I'm grateful for the community that I've been able to be a part of, and to help amplify. There's some really good and amazing people that are out there in the world, who are all over the world, in a lot of different disciplines, in different countries, and they're great people to connect with, and we have a lot more in common than I think we do. And so I hope that we take a chance to reach out. Everybody, you have just a wonderful holiday for those of you who are celebrating, and I will see you live in the new year.